What's up, Muscle and Strength? It's Dan. Today we're going to be talking with a good friend of mine, been an athlete who's been featured in multiple shows on our channel. Got my buddy here, Brent Swansen. Thanks for jumping on, man, and doing this interview with me today.
Yeah, of course. It's just funny how we've kind of struck up a friendship since you come to my house, and I think we talk, about a few times a week, and it's just awesome, to connect with other people in the community and the fitness community and just really become friends. And we're pretty like-minded people. So I'm glad to hop on here and do kind of a recap of what's going on in my life.
Yeah, man, for sure. And just to clarify, guys, too, I've only stayed at two athletes' houses, and the whole the 7 or 8 years I've been producing content, and it's definitely it was really cool because I got to really be with Brent and his wife Autumn for the 2 days, and it was really fun. They have a great place in Illinois, and we had a lot of good times. So yeah, man. So I've been talking to you since your prep. Man, what a crazy look you brought, dude. First off, just kudos. I mean, I've always had a big admiration for any bodybuilder that just focused on that conditioned look. And man, you really brought it.
Yeah, I was really happy with the look. Last year I got fifth in the Indy, but obviously this is a New York pro. So if anybody knows bodybuilding history, it used to be called the Night of Champions. And it's literally like when there used to be tiers of shows, it was a tier 2 show. So you'd have the Olympia, Arnold, and then the New York pro, right? So I know stepping into this show, it was going to be a challenge. But, I wanted to do it head on, and it's just so funny because a week later at the Cali Pro, a lot of people even placed behind me were even in the top 5. So I ended up placing 9th place. But, I'm not making a living off of this. I'm a school teacher, I train people on the side, but I was just super happy with my look. I thought I should have placed a little bit higher. And I'm usually the first person who gives props to people who beat me. Thought I should have placed a little higher, but at the end of the day, man, my look, this was the first show I was able to compete at where I looked at myself and I was like, oh, I look good, but I need a little bit here, a little bit there. I was actually able to look at myself and say, I look good. And if this were to be my last show, which I don't know what I'm doing next, you know what I mean? I would be happy with this being it because the conditioning and the hardness and the graininess that I brought, I mean, you don't see that quite often. So I feel like my look is pretty unique.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. And I mean, I think another thing is that look isn't something you're gonna just get from just training. It's a brutal diet, and I mean, one of the things that I mean, from my past, not anywhere close to your level, but one of the reasons why you and I connect to a degree is our both of our passions for bodybuilding and we started at such a young age,
Right.
especially with the competing. I mean, I used to follow Brent's contest updates on the bodybuilding.com forums years ago. So that's how far back we go with that. But I mean, that look just takes a level of suffering and it also requires a level of muscle maturity. So just to quickly recap, how long you started the prep in January or was it earlier?
No, I started at, I want to say the end of January, whatever 16 weeks out. Okay. So, and I'm somebody too, I've learned my lesson to where even in my off season, so in that videos that you did when you came to see me, I mean, I was just kind of not in an off season, not in a contest stage, just kind of hanging out. I mean, I got a little bit heavier than that. I want to say I started out at 308, but I never let myself get too far out of, touch to where I can't see the outline of my abs, to where I can't see faint glute lines, just because if you get heavier than that, a prep is miserable and you're not really able to achieve the level of condition that needs, that a bodybuilder needs to be. So I started at 308, and then I forgot a scale when I left for New York, but right before I left for New York, I weighed at 256. So it's just funny though, because when I was 308, people were like, how are you? You don't have, 40, 50 pounds to lose because, you don't see all the internal organ fat, but when you get rid of literally all the visceral fat, which I did and everything, you have more fat on your body than you think.
There's a video where Dorian Yates is at Bev's. I think he's a couple days out, and he's on the spin bike, and he talks about the soles of his feet were hurting towards the end of his prep because we store body fat in place, in the soles of our feet. and he had like lost that body fat, and that's how lean he got. So yeah, we don't know where our body fat always is. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, and I'm always somebody. I know me and follow the same bodybuilders, but growing up and getting like the Muscular Development magazines, Flex magazines, all of those things, I wanted to look like the grainy, freaky, like veined out bodybuilders. And with my body composition, I'm never going to be a flex wheeler. I mean, that's like a genetic gift, right? So I know that I need to bank on muscle size, muscle maturity, hardness, graininess, and I like my look. You know what I mean? Like I like that look because growing up, that's what I wanted to look like. So to actually, look at myself and say, hey, I kind of look like that. I mean, to me, bodybuilding is artwork, and it's trying to transform your body into the version that you want. So for me, I was just very happy with the overall look. I had a lot of hard things that came up during my prep, but I'm not a quitter. So I kept just, pushing and pushing and just to get to that level. And, last year everybody commented on my condition at Indy. And, I was a little bit bigger at New York and a little bit more conditioned. So, I mean, all in all, I was just very happy with, the look that I brought. And it was kind of more of an old school type of look, which is obviously kind of what drew me into the sport as a little kid.
This prep for you has been obviously it's been a challenge with the diet and the goal, but there's a lot of like outside life obstacles that have kind of come into play. Can you kind of go into what all has happened since you started the diet?
So life happens, and it's just funny because you keep going back to like what makes you happy and what keeps you driven, and that's what bodybuilding does. It's my outlet, right? So a few different times I was like, do I want to continue this prep? But when you put so much work and effort into it, and when it is your outlet, it's just kind of like we just got to keep going. So let me preface this by saying I've been a type 1 diabetic since 4 years old. If you've watched any of the videos that we've done together, you guys know that. But I in that time period, I have never passed out, I think more than like 2 or 3 times in 30 some years, which is really good for a type 1 because my blood sugar got low. So I just got done training legs and my blood sugar was 115, which is good. I took my pump off, and she jokes with me, my massage therapist, and she goes really deep, super deep tissue work. And she's like, you burn a lot of calories when you do this, right? And I just always kind of laugh at it, like, I'm sitting here, you're working on me, I'm not burning calories and whatnot. Well, unbeknownst to me, you really do, because obviously when you burn calories, blood sugar lowers. I wasn't feeling right, but I just kind of shut up and let her keep working. Next thing I know, I had passed out, I woke up, and I had paramedics over me with an IV of glucose in my arm. And then I knew that I had blacked out because of my blood sugar. So then I asked them, I said, well, how low is my blood sugar? And they said, sir, our meter goes to, I think, 30. And after 30, it doesn't register. So he said, your blood sugar was below 30. So I literally went from 115, which is a normal for a type 1, to under 30. And luckily, she knows me very well. So she knows my condition. Called the paramedics. They came, put glucose in my arm. And then that happened. I felt horrible the whole day. And then literally like 2 weeks later, our dogs sleep with us and I'm on an insulin pump. Well, the dogs tripped over my pump and ripped it out of my body, and woke up when my alarm went off. And I was like, man, I don't feel right. And literally I was like, well, maybe it's just, prep, you're tired, whatever. So I get up and I check my blood sugar, and my blood sugar was 547, which, I never really that much out of control. Obviously I went, 6-7 hours without any insulin in me because the dogs dripped my sight out of my body. And, when you get that far out of whack, it takes a few days to get back under control. So obviously, I put a different site in, give myself some insulin, get back down. So I had 2 obstacles there that were a little bit hard and a little bit challenging. Being a type 1, you just always try to have your, blood under control, but certain life things happen once in a while. And luckily I've been pretty, my A1Cs and everything are very good, but certain things sometimes like to happen. And then when I was 2 weeks out, I don't mind really talking about it too much, but I don't have the best relationship with my biological father. My mom's a saint. She basically raised me. I haven't talked to my dad for years, but I found out that he was on life support and that he was dying. That was like literally 10 days out from my show. I was feeling like an internal struggle there. And, you know, luckily now a miracle happened. He's off life support. He's been in the nursing home for a while. So he didn't pass away, but I mean, everybody was writing him off. Like the doctors and everybody was like, hey, he's got a few days left. So I was struggling with all of that. And then I was struggling working. I was struggling with my prep. You know, a week out from the show, you're brain dead anyways. And then I was like, do I keep going on or what do I do? Like, what do I do at this point? And, I continued through prep. The only what variables can I control? When freak things like that happen with my diabetes, can't really control that. You just roll the punches. When freak things in life happen that you feel all this mental, emotional strife and everything, like, I just try to control the variables that I could control. So I had, 7 or I think 8 days left of my prep. So I said, we've worked this hard, just focus everything on bodybuilding. This might sound bad, but I said, put all of that mental, emotional stuff on the back burner till after your show and then deal with it after that. So I had a lot of things happen during my prep. Oh, and then on top of that, I had diabetic retinopathy in this eye, which I was blind for 11 months. And I started having hemorrhaging in this eye. So then I had to get laser done on this eye as well during my prep. So I had that happen. And then on top of that, I get home from New York and I have a wisdom tooth cut out because it was infected. And my dentist said, we got to get this out right now. In which I had pain in the back of my mouth, but I was kind of ignored because I was in prep. I was like, oh, it's not a big deal, not a big deal. Go to the dentist. And he's like, this is infected. This is coming out right now. So literally I've had like 6 or 7 major things where I'm just like, it seems like sometimes when it rains, it pours. But, at the end of the day, I'm thankful, that, I'm relatively healthy, and I try to control the variables as much as I can. But life happens. So, I mean, you either sink or swim and, you just got to keep fighting. So, I just try to handle that the best that I could.
Yeah. I mean, I think that comes back to what you were saying too, that the sport being a lifestyle and it's what because I think many people would just crumble with the first obstacle you face throughout the year and just stop and reevaluate, but you're able to keep going. So props to you, man. And I think that's what I love about talking with athletes after they compete, because not everyone knows the story behind the athlete on the stage. And it's like, there's so much time that goes into bodybuilding and being on the stage. You don't really get to know about everyone's story leading up to the show.
And obviously, it's bodybuilding, which it's 24/7. When guys go and the professional basketball players or baseball players, they go to the field, they put in their work, and then they're done. They can relax. No, like bodybuilding literally encompasses everything, and especially when you're in a prep. It is 24/7. It's like you lock yourself in your own prison, and you're not allowed to get out until after the show. And it's just sometimes can make you feel nuts. And we're probably a little bit messed up in the head for doing it. But the reward that I get from doing it and doing a prep and know that, hey, I push my body to its limits. It's an extreme sport. And, I'm very happy with the look that I brought and the discipline that I had. I don't think there's any sport like bodybuilding, as far as doing it the right way with the discipline that you have to have. There's reward in that. And if there wasn't an intrinsic reward, I'd be pretty stupid to keep doing it. And, this is all I kind of know. I'm not a golfer. I don't play cards. I mean, this is my thing that I do outside of work, and it takes a lot of time and dedication and sacrifice. But, it's what I love to do. And, I think a lot of people think that these professional bodybuilders do it for ego, and maybe some do, but I just do it just because I love it. I just love the process, and I could care less what anybody else thinks about me. It's just has to do with the process, and I'm trying to be my best on the inside now.
Going into that, let's talk about the fact that you're a full-time, you work as an educator. So during this 16-week prep, you taught students all day, 30 plus hours a week. Can you kind of go into how you're able to balance the career as well as this professional bodybuilding career you're growing on the side?
I mean, I don't know any way else to do it just because I've always done that. I'm not And I don't think I would enjoy it, because during the summers when I have more time to myself. So basically during the school year, I teach people. I have an online training business that I have to juggle. I have to juggle my own personal bodybuilding life. So that takes a lot of time. In the summertime, when I'm not teaching school like right now, I'm only training people. I'm on my online business and bodybuilding. And I don't like it as much. I like having something outside of bodybuilding. And I really enjoy my job. Like I love teaching kids. I love it. I mean, I just got my administrative license last year. So when I'm done with the bodybuilding, I can kind of put all that time and effort into being maybe an administrator somewhere. So I just really enjoy it. I really don't know how else to do it. And I don't think I'd be happy if somebody offered me a contract for $100,000, let's say, okay, to say, hey, stop your day job, just bodybuild all day long. Would I take it? Yes, I would. So I'm not gonna lie there. But like I like I take my bodybuilding very serious. I don't cheat on my diet ever. I train I train super, super hard, but I feel like to balance that with like, teaching school and having a wife and having relationships outside of it is one of the reasons why I haven't gassed out and why I've been able to do it since I've been, 14 years old, first starting out in the gym, and I'm a few days away from 37 right now. So
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, it's just part of your lifestyle.
I don't know any different, you know what I mean? And it's just so funny because like the community that I teach in loves me. My principal, my superintendent are awesome guys. We're very good friends. The family loves me, but the way I look, until kids get to know me and families get to know me, they're just like, who is this freak? Especially now with the platinum hair that I bleach. That I might it look good with the tan, but I'm just kind of like, I need to fix that.
I like it. I think it looks good.
I look kind of freaky. I'm a freak. So until you get to know me, you might have, preconceived notions about me, but I'm very well liked in the community that I teach in. I love it. And, I just really, like my job. So, I mean, I can't really, as long as I'm liking it and, it's fulfilling my life, I'm happy. So I think as long as I'm happy, I'm able to work hard. So that's kind of how I make it work.
For sure. I mean, it reminds me of like the shots of like Ronnie. Like they have like some shots where they like followed him to on the job, and he's like wearing the super tight like shirt, and he's like,
I know.
That's how I always envision you at school. Like, so you work with Chad, who has gotten some of the top athlete bodybuilders in the industry on the Olympia stage. Ronnie worked with Chad for years. What was your diet like towards the end?
I'll just kind of, give vague descriptions just because he does charge.
Yeah, that's fair. So, like, what is an idea of like your ratio?
My protein would stay very high. My protein stays high in my off season and in my contest prep. And I'm one of those people like I eat clean all the time because I'm a diabetic. So I've learned that if I eat like junk, I feel like garbage. It affects my health in a negative way. So for me, I'm a big eater. So when in my off season, when it's like, hey, eat 14 ounces of cooked chicken or steak or, and a few cups of rice and this and that, I'm like, hey, that's easy for me. Where a lot of guys kind of complain after blend up their food or do whatever. I'm like, I have a big appetite. So that's never been an issue. My issue is when you start taking away those foods and I don't have enough energy to get through my work. I get through my cardio and things like that. So my fats were pretty low for a bodybuilder. My carbs, especially towards the end, were extremely, extremely low. And my protein always kind of stayed the same. The lowest my protein, I'll tell you what the lowest my protein ever went was 12 ounces cooked. But when you're doing that in veggies and like trace carbs, like being also 200 and, as I was coming down 80, 70, 60 pounds, it's very hard. And one thing that Chad doesn't give a lot, which I don't want it because I want to be my best. And when I step on stage, I want to know, hey, I gave it my everything. Like we don't do cheat meals. Like he doesn't give cheat meals or refeed meals or anything. I want to say maybe twice he said, hey, go out to eat. And one of those times is when I went into comatose, getting a massage, which we can talk about in a minute. And he was like, just eat the rest of the day. So that was one day. And then I think the other day was maybe like Easter Sunday. So in a 4-month prep, having like 2 cheat meals, which, it's just a red flag to me, even working with athletes. If their first question is, hey, how many cheat meals do I get? I'm like, I don't know if we're going to work because I'm more hardcore. Like when you're in a prep or you're in like an off season phase, like you eat your food and like, Like one of your first questions are, hey, what supplements can I take?
Yeah.
Or, when is my first cheat meal? I'm like, I don't think this is going to work out.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
That's not my mindset. My mindset just, hey, work hard, get through it, and let your hard work the be the overall encompass of like the whole pie. Like we have a pie chart. Hard work and suffering should be 90% of it. You know what I mean? And if not, the physique should.
yeah, and I think that's one of the things I love is like following your work ethic, because that's something that I've always admired. Is just anyone who has to work hard to get what they want, and then they achieve it. So yeah, I think with the cheat meals is interesting because so in like my first show I did a 16-week diet and I didn't get any cheat meals. And then when I competed again, I was in my 20s, I got cheat meals. And it was interesting how that mentality in like the early 2000s, I mean, even past that, people just didn't do a refeed was your normal food but higher portions.
Correct.
And I'm wondering now, like, I know people really rely on them. I'm wondering, like, mentally though, like certain people, like if I don't eat that food for 10 weeks and then I get it, I'm gonna want it again right after,
Yeah, that's why a lot. You ever notice when you get a cheat meal when you've been eating clean for a long time, and you get a cheat meal, it's like a drug. It's like you get that in, and the rest of the day is pretty much toast. So that's why if I ever do give an athlete a cheat meal, it's usually the last meal of the day, so they go to bed. But if you start cheating and you haven't had a cheat meal like at breakfast, like you better have some tough discipline because that switch is going to be turned on all day long. And in my estimation, I think today's generation, not to sound old to date myself, but today's generation, I think, relies too much on drugs, and they rely too much on cheat meals, the easy way out. It's like buckle up, do the hard work, and let that carry your physique. And I think when you do that, you can see that in the physique, because as somebody who works hard and is a blue collar hard worker who just puts the work in, their physique at the end of the day is going to look different than somebody who heavily relies on other things or cheats on their diet. It's just those guys bring in a softer look, and you can't out cardio a bad diet, and you can't out supplement a body.
Well,
So that's just
if you do, the difference also is like if you're doing a prep and you just get off, and that was what you were relying on to look a certain way, it's gone. Because that is a look too. It's like I see it all the time. I have guys that I know that blow up and then they just like disintegrate. And it's like, that's the difference of that foundational muscle and the time. I mean, think about it. You started bodybuilding when you were what? How old?
honestly, I started training like a bodybuilder. I was introduced to the gym at 14 years old. And looking at logbooks and everything, I have never taken more than a few days off, and I'm going to be 37 years old. And, it's just a love of it, like I've never taken an extended period off. I never have. And I'm one of those people too, like I'll train 6, 7, most weeks, 7 days a week. When I feel like my body needs a break, I'll take a break. But I probably, all the young kids say, oh, he overtrains. No, like I just train because I love it. If I feel like I listen to my body. If I feel like I need a day off, I take it. If not, I'm playing and banging and doing my thing because that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I love to do. I think the love has to be there to do this that long. And I think, I try to talk people sometimes out of bodybuilding if they don't have that mindset, because if you don't have that mindset, you kind of get yourself into trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of mental aspects of being a bodybuilder that are required in order to take it to the level you're at. I mean, there's a lot of things that I know that I knew that I didn't have the mental capacity to handle the sport, because it's your body at the end of the day. So it's like you can't just like get off it's like you don't just like stop being a bodybuilder when the show's over. It's your body. You've built something that's you. So you have to be mentally balanced and as well as physically in shape to make it work. So let's move into the show briefly. So how was the process? I mean, the New York Pro is one of the most prestigious shows. I mean, outside of the Arnold and Olympia, I think it's one of the top shows that athletes look at as for notoriety. I mean, what was it like going to the show and doing it?
It was just really, and especially because I think a lot of the younger guys, because now in the open class, I am one of the more older guys, especially this show. There's a lot of up and comer new guys who are in their 20s. Like, I don't know how much history they know, but I mean, I'm kind of like, I know a lot of the history of bodybuilding, so just knowing that, hey, this was the night of champion. Um, this stage, a lot of people have graced who go on to like really awesome careers. Just kind of having that was kind of like nostalgia feeling, honestly, almost like last year when I was next to all these Olympians, the first call at Indy. It's just almost kind of like, wow, like in my own way, I kind of made it. You know what I mean? I made it further than I ever thought I could make it in this sport. And it was just a really cool experience. Obviously, when you go to like the upper tier shows, you have all the good videographers and all the good photographers. So like all of your stage shots are going to be amazing because all the top people are there. The stage lighting was awesome. You could see everything in detail, which, I mean, some people don't think that means a lot, but 20 years from now when I'm done and I need to use this stuff for content or just for my own satisfaction, it's kind of good to look back on pictures and videos and say, man, like this was an accurate representation of how I looked and things like that. So it was just very cool just being a fan of the sport to do the New York Pro. I mean, just because that to me that meant something, just knowing the history of everybody who's kind of come before and who's done that show.
It was interesting. I noticed you train legs like a couple days before.
Yeah, that's usually a no-no, right? That's like bodybuilding sin. So, this is a Chadism. So he noticed that, when I was in check-in photos, that my legs would look substantially like fuller and like freakier the day after I would train quads for whatever reason. And then I look back at the pictures, I'm like, you're right. So, during the week, it was almost like they started to flatten out. And usually you don't want to train legs before a show because you'll lose detail and all that. But we know with my legs, I didn't lose any detail and they looked better. So he's like, I'd like you just go do a few leg movements on Friday before your show on, Saturday. So we actually did that on the first nationals that we worked together and it worked great. So we did the same thing for Indy Pro last year and did the same thing this year at New York. So that just shows that, you want to work with somebody who actually looks at the details, because most coaches, including myself, I would never tell somebody to train legs the day before a show. But if you notice when you send pictures that, hey, this body part looks substantially better the day after I train it, why not do it to see how it does? So it was nothing crazy. Like I think I did like a squat machine, leg extensions, and like a leg press, like 3 sets of each, like 15 reps at moderate weight. It wasn't anything nuts, but just enough to kind of like pump the blood in there a little bit. And I feel like that works. You know what I mean? So at least it works for me. So yeah, that's I wouldn't tell everybody to do that, but that's why it's good to work with somebody who actually pays attention to how your body looks.
Yeah. So do you feel like your legs like flatten out easier than other body parts, like your quads, or?
I feel like my quads and my back. So when I start to really start dieting down, if I go a little too far or if I get a little too flat, the first things I'll flatten out are my quads, especially in my sweeps and my lats. But then kind of when I pump them up, they look better. That's why we did. That's why we did legs the day before. I do feel like I dieting down to the conditioning level that I got to. I do feel like I lost a little bit of lats. If you look at my pictures from like a few weeks back, they're way bigger than they were on stage. But at the same point, like I'm somebody who chases conditioning, so it's almost like I think Dorian said the same thing. Like I put on that extra muscle because I know I might diet some of it off. Right. I'd rather come in a little bit, flat and crisp than a little too full. And when you're a little too full and not as dry, I don't think that looks as good. So I always, if I'm gonna err, I'll err on the side of being too flat than being too full.
Yeah, I mean, I think with your shape and the way you present your physique, you're not really gonna be you're a pretty big bodybuilder, open bodybuilder in general. Right. So I think coming in full is really risky when you're a larger coming up. Yeah. I mean, because they're just gonna say it's we see it all the time. And it does seem like they are pushing really. I mean, New York Pro had the conditioning was pretty intense. I thought some of the conditioning is definitely an open right now, a big push. Right. They really like to see that, and it's it's a lot of work, man, to get to that level. I mean, you were peeled. So like the way you look, I mean, let's say like realistically, you don't feel good, obviously, when you're that lean.
Not at all.
How do you feel after a show? How do you feel getting like, because you're not really like, it's not like you can just like stop being that lean right away. It takes a second to kind of get back to normal. What's the process?
So something that I've learned over the years is that I was somebody when I first started to compete in my 20s, right after the show. I mean, I would go blizzard for blizzard with Autumn at Dairy Queen. I would eat cheesecake. I mean, I would just eat until like it was disgusting and it wasn't healthy, you know. But as I've gotten older the last few years, what I do is I try to eat things that are very satiating. I might not eat like quote unquote prep food, but I'll find like, especially with like Splenda and artificial sweeteners, which, you know, some people will knock for. Like I try to make things that taste good, but that like are macro friendly, at least for a few weeks, try to like kind of even my body out. Because if you tell me, I'm just the type of person, I know myself, you tell me, hey, go back on your base diet and add like 20% of, you know, carbs from rice and potatoes, like it's not going to happen with me. So, I mean, I'll have my like rice, potato, and, you know, protein meals, but then if I want something sweet, you know, I might, you know, have like a bowl of fruit with Splenda on it, or I might have like 100 calorie like ice cream sandwich, or I might have things here and there just so I don't go nuts. Because post show, I feel like a lot of people rebound so hardcore because they're either all or nothing. They're like, well, if you know, if I can't follow this diet where I'm just stair stepping up calories, you know, from broccoli and, you know, whatever, you know, then I'm just gonna go completely the opposite direction, just binge, which is totally not right. So, you know, for a few weeks until I get back like on a base like set bodybuilding regimen, like I let myself have some things that I wouldn't normally let myself have. But still, you know, at the end of the day, you know, your caloric expenditure, like as long as you're not too far above your metabolic rate, you know, anytime you're above it, you're going to gain weight. Anytime you're below it, you're going to lose weight. So, you know, obviously my calories are higher. I'm going to gain weight because I'm not in prep, but I don't want to snowball into just like a water flow. So far being 10 days out, like I have no ankle swelling. I mean, I look really good still. And you know, that's happened to me the last few, I would say the last 7 or 8 years competing, because I've learned, you know. So if I have any, you know, anything that I can tell like a young competitor is that, you know, you have to find what works for you, but don't go binging, because then, you know, your mental emotional side is like, hey, 3 weeks ago I looked like this, now I look like I've never even touched a weight. You're all watery and you feel horrible, and it's not healthy too, because your body holds on to water and it's hard on the heart. Like there's just a lot of things that can snowball out of control post show for athletes, which is why you need to have like a solid plan in place so you just don't go haywire.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not, once you get the swelling or it takes a second to get rid of that.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
I mean, I definitely am guilty of the binging post show for sure. I've done it a few times myself.
Well, I think a beginning athlete too. I mean, I would say most do than not, because it's your first time experiencing things and you don't know what to feel like, how you're going to feel post show. And then, like I said, it's hard to turn that switch off once you start it. So, I guess with age comes a little bit of wisdom, but I can definitely remember being in those shoes in my early 20s where it would be like literally, it would just be disgusting. Like if there was like a film crew following me around, like it was bad. It was really, really bad.
Dude, my first show, the day after my show, I took a week off of training and just ate whatever I wanted the whole week. So
Yeah.
not only was I like missing out on any opportunity to like see some like rebound fullness or whatever that sign, I don't know if that's even proven, but you know how like you're supposed to like that post show, like there's some good opportunity for growth if you keep a clean diet. So like I just like ruined the first week. I ate like way over my caloric intake, and then I just like I had like no abs, and I was like, what have I done?
Oh, I know. Or that mental emotion, you're just like, it's just, you're in a really weird spot post show, anyways. But then when you throw all that on top of it, like, what in the world? You know what I mean? So let me ask you a question. What was the craziest meal you had post show where you're just like, oh my gosh, like I'm just embarrassed to even talk about it?
Um. Well, okay, so I had like I didn't like plan it out, but like I was the last show I did, I got in pretty good shape, and it was a long prep. Those 16-week preps are really you a lot of times if you do 16 weeks and you really diet hard, I mean, you get to a level of low level of body fat where like you really are, I mean, you're lean. And
Oh yeah.
so it was the point where I was dreaming, like I would see a commercial for like, we had this place called Bojangles here. I don't know if you ever heard of Bojangles. It's like it's like Southern fried chicken,
Okay.
biscuits, stuff like that. So they make this thing called Bowberry biscuits, and they're blueberry biscuits with cinnamon roll icing on them.
Oh my God.
Dude, okay, so they're terrible for you. Like I don't even know what the macros are, but we'll pull them up. But they're amazing, and you can like easily they just taste good, and they're loaded with sodium. They have like, I think they have like 500 milligrams a biscuit. Anyways, I dreamed about them, and I woke up in terror like 2 weeks out, thinking I ate the biscuit. And I thought I made a mistake, and then I was like, "Oh wait, I didn't go to Bojangles." Okay, so I went to Bojangles the day after my show, and I bought some Bowberry biscuits, but I bought an entire. They had a big, like, you could buy a box of them, and I literally, dude, I kid you not, 20 minutes I eat the entire box.
Oh yeah, I've been there. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you know, but then the thing is, like, you just feel miserable afterward. You feel miserable and you look miserable, and it's just like the guilt you have to. It's like, why did I even do all of this? Yeah, I can remember one of my first shows, I had like a 12 or 14-inch like cheesecake.
Oh
and
yeah,
I ate the entire cheesecake in one sitting, which cheesecake's like the most dense ever. And then another time, me and Autumn did a show together with Blizzard to Blizzard, like at Dairy Queen. I think we had like 8 large blizzards, like back to back to back. And I'm not proud of these moments. That's why I don't do them. But if we're being real, like, I mean, like, this is some of the stuff that competitors go through post show. And granted, that was when I was younger and probably a lot dumber, you know. But that's why I think it's very important that you have a solid plan in place, so you don't do the things that me and Dan did.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like I mean, you went heavy on the dairy and the fats on those.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
yeah. Those that's
yeah. Don't be in a car with me after that.
yeah. I love the there is what was it? Was it what was that ice cream you brought?
Oh, the Briars. There's a Maltol. There's a Maltol. Yeah, that. Yeah.
We had fun with that. We throw it in. I don't know if you've seen, you probably haven't, because we started like, so basically we made the spray butter a short. That was the first for you guys reference. That's the first Muscle and Strength short to ever get 1 million views in Brent's video. So he got a 1 million views short trophy, which is the most did. So Brent, you're known on our channel as the spray butter guru.
I know.
So, did you say that someone came to you at the Arnold and said they saw you on the spray?
Oh, I had tons of people. Like when I was in the Ultimate Warrior thing for Muscle Egg and doing that whole spiel, like they looked at me and they're trying to put 2 and 2 together. Like, I know that person from somewhere. Are you the spray butter guy off Muscle and Strength? And I'm just like, yeah. And then I had other people who came by the booth. That's all they wanted to talk about. And I was like, well, I guess instead of bodybuilding, I'm known as whoever the hater on spray butter. But hey, I guess no publicity is bad publicity. I was just trying to inform all of the viewers not to get crazy on the spray butter. And if you're going to use butter, just use the real thing. So I think it all would be like, honestly, a real butter company could put like that serving size on, and it'd be the same macros. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a dupe that the FDA allows these companies to get on you. So I figured that I would expose it. So.
No, I think it's great, and that's the kind of stuff that like really stands out. And the thing is, like, people don't realize, like, so obviously our channel, we have a lot of people that jump in and chime in with their jokes and their opinions, etc. That's YouTube, right? That's the internet.
I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I honestly just laugh it off.
Right. So, but then you also got to look at the other thing. So, like, you see the comments, and you also got to see the views. So you're like, out of this many comments, these are the only people that commented. There's a lot more people that enjoyed it and absorbed that information. It's right. So for me, like, I knew that when we did the grocery store video, because of because of you being a diabetic, I knew you were going to give insight about reading labels because you have to read labels.
I've read labels when I've been 4 years old, and then, for your average American, and even my health class at school, I asked the question. I said, "Hey, how many of you guys know how to know anything about a nutrition label?" And nobody raises their hand. And it's like, we're teaching geometry and all this math that you're probably not going to know, like, even need in life, but we're not teaching you how to eat correctly. Like, what's wrong with society? And in all honesty, in the education system, most people don't teach what I teach, because I kind of go off the book and teach, hey, not, I don't want to teach you how to be a bodybuilder, but I want to teach you, hey, when I read something, what is a carbohydrate? What is a fat? What is a protein? How does that affect my body? So, because, health is wealth. And if you don't know how to read a label, like, why are we teaching higher level math? We don't even know what we're putting into our bodies is beyond me. It's, I can get on my soapbox for minutes, so I won't, but it's just very sad to see.
But kind of moving into closing this out, so we don't have to like get into specifics, but like, what is your next step? We're post show now. Are you doing more? Are you taking the time off?
I mean, I brought the look that I wanted to bring, so I don't see that there'd be any reason for me to continue to compete this year. Just because for me to win a show, it would have to be the perfect storm. Like, obviously last week at Cali, I feel like if I would have been 100% and everybody was coming off New York a little bit off, I feel like I probably would have had a good chance to win that, considering the guy who placed 10th behind me placed 5th. But for me, I want to, whenever I show a look, I want to be better. So for me, I peaked myself 100%. I was 100% on stage, and I did one of the biggest shows there was. So, right now I'm just going to enjoy life, help my wife get ready for her show this weekend, and we're going to go to Miami on vacation. I don't know if I'm going to compete next year, or I don't even know if I'm done yet, to be honest. I didn't have time to reflect, but really my lifestyle won't change. I'm still going to eat like a bodybuilder. I'm still going to hit the gym. But as far as the competitive side, putting your body through all of that, I'm just not sure yet. And I think time will tell. But the cool thing is I really don't have to decide right now. I might even like do an off season and try to make improvements. And I feel like the improvements are there, then hey, let's diet it down and see what it looks like. And if not, if this was my last show, there's not, I've come further than I ever thought I would. And I'm happy with that. I think the biggest thing is going to be just like with all the time and dedication and sacrifice to being a competitive bodybuilder, like how mentally, like, do I transition from this to whatever I'm going to do next, which is kind of scary, to be honest, because I've competed since I've been 20 years old. Started lifting when I was 14, competed when I was 20, and I'm going to be 37 in the next week. So honestly, I don't know. I mean, I see myself maybe going on, but then sometimes I see myself maybe, calling it a day right now. So, I honestly just don't have an answer. I'm just going to, take time to reflect, pray about it, and just kind of what my gut tells me, and, just kind of go from there.
Awesome. Well, all right, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this interview with us. It was great to catch up. And we're super stoked, and we're definitely gonna have to connect again and get another shoot on the.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but all right, guys, that was it for today. Brent Swansen, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe below.